vengeance. Welcome back, everybody. This is Mark 107 of the Super Civil Servants Podcast. My name is Greg, the Bad Daddy 52. Folks, I'm defeated. It's been a really long week, and after the day today, I am just defeated is the absolute best word for it. I'll tell
But your
some more
football team's
stories,
not.
but the football team's not. As a matter of fact, the football team is undefeated, which is even better. So that's really cool. It's funny because yesterday was such a great day, and the day was the exact opposite. I'm not sure how it worked out like that. I wish I could have split it up, half this good in this day, but it doesn't work out quite like that. My homeboy Ross with me. What's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot, man. Just getting through another week.
Counting.
Basically, you sit there and look at it on the calendar, and next thing you know, you're like, oh, it's only going to be a couple days before we get to the end of the month, and we're getting there.
We are getting there very, very quickly. End of the month for me at this time is always crazy because it's one daughter's birthday, one wife's birthday. It's like within a week span. So coming up soon. Guest joining us tonight, Matt. How you doing, bud?
What's up, guys?
Do you prefer Matt or Matthew? I'm sorry.
Matt is fine.
Matt's fine. All right. And Matt's joining us tonight to talk about a few things. Hopefully stay on for a couple shows. I'm not sure exactly what he's seen, but you're also bringing us a comic that you gave us a copy of. We're gonna talk about it a little bit and get the word out there for your Kickstarter, correct?
Yep.
Cool deal. Well, let's start with that. Since there's the three of us right here, right now, we'll start with this comic. I'm gonna let you give all the intro to it because you know it way better than I do. So tell us all about it, man.
Yeah, so it's called the Bardic Verses. It's about our character, Martiln Swordhand, is a bard that comes from a long line of warrior characters. His father was a warrior, grandfather, great-grandfather. They're all buried on the same plot of land. They all have hero on their tombstone, and he's not that. He's not a warrior character. He decided to pick up a lute instead of a sword. So we kind of... we get to see some of his adventures, dealing with being a bard and not following in his father's footsteps. The story is kind of like an anthology. It's all one artist, all Pete Collins. He did all the art for the book, but they're basically the framing device is he's in a tavern playing a set list. That set list is the different stories that are in the book. So we tried to figure out how do we illustrate different styles of music? We use different styles of art. So the different stories or different adventures that he's gone on, they do stand alone if you want to read them separately, but they all connect as well. It's all one kind of long series of journeys. And basically we find out the reason why he's at that particular bar during the course of those stories. And then we end the book on what he does after he leaves the bar. So again, just a bunch of different stories about this one character, following him on different adventures and him dealing with the fact of, not following in his family's footsteps.
Cool deal. Yeah, I mean, you gave us a copy of it. I guess we got the first 19 pages, or I guess the first arc of the book or story of the book, story of the novel. I enjoyed it. Artwork was interesting. I did notice how the artwork changed throughout, not just in style, but also in color schemes and everything else. And that was one question I wanted to ask you about that. And I guess with you explaining it there, it's a different way to portray different forms of music or it makes sense. So I like that. Because I did the very beginning is very colorful, very, very bright, very colorful as far as just like the artwork itself. And then after you get past the first few pages, it goes straight black and white, which I love reading black and white stuff, kind of a noir look stuff, And then towards the end, you get a little bit of flashes of color. Different. Actually, it's only really one character that gets the color in them. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed the artwork. But you, Ross?
Yes, that's. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That was by design.
Go ahead.
So that specific story is called "A Maiden to Smite For," which is kind of like a riff on "A Dame to Kill For," the Sin City story. That particular story is like a tribute to Frank Miller and things like that. So that story is done by design. That's why that one character is yellow, like that yellow bastard from Sin City. Again, it's just our way to pay tribute to the master.
That was one thing that stood out to me right off the bat. I mean, I totally felt the vibes as soon as I was looking at it. I'll paint you a little picture. As soon as I saw the cover for this, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, this needs music. I'm like, I'm gonna sit here and flip through it and take a look at it. I'm like, the loot just stuck out in my head as soon as I opened it, and I was like, nope, stop. That's exactly what I did. I went on YouTube, I grabbed a loot video and listened to it while I watched or actually flipped through this thing. It
Nice.
definitely, I felt the Witcher vibes right off the bat. The very beginning, when they're all in the tavern, he's basically throwing out his opening, and that's exactly what I was sitting there feeling. And there's just so much to call from, but the story itself was so good that it just pushed all that to the side. And even though it's a familiar universe because of all the things that you added into it, and it was a good, fun read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree, man. One of the things I picked up on it was everybody's always messing up his name. And it's almost like a running joke. There's a few times where people are messing up his name or calling him a completely different name, which I thought was funny. The little points of humor are not they don't pull you out of what you're in, but it's nice to see that little bit of humor. It's perfectly placed in some of those spots. It's almost like a real conversation you would have with people, like friends with people, as opposed to everything being so scripted out. I enjoyed it.
First off, thank you for noticing that. That we actually pay that off later in the book, so
Okay.
Hopefully you'll get to see that. And that's honestly like that. You hit the nail on the head. Like that's one of my favorite things about writing comics is like getting to write like fun dialogue, like fun, authentic sounding dialogue. It doesn't always have to be like so heavy-handed in comics.
Mm-hmm.
I think like that's where a lot of comics fail, is where they're just not like, it's not interesting, it's not fun to read. Like the dialogue, like all the other stuff is cool, the visuals are cool, but like the dialogue feels like just kind of hokey.
Mm-hmm.
I really got into writing comics after reading Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Bendis. Like he sort of like revolutionized comic dialogue. He was the one who for me like made it so that characters didn't all sound the same. Like they all had different voices, and they all sounded authentic for that time period and for that location. Like, I think early 2000s in Manhattan, like he really did a good job at making every character on the page sound different. So that was one of my like biggest inspirations, was that book.
Yeah, and I think that's
a
really
task in
important.
itself.
Yeah, it's really, really important. I mean, because if you can look at a picture, look at a book, and read, and you're reading it in your own head with different voices, I feel like it puts you more into the story. And I feel like if you're into the story, you're going to do that more naturally anyway.
Yeah.
Something about being able to express written dialect almost. Yeah, it worked really well because each person I gave every single one of them their own moment to shine in my head with their own voice, and I had no problem with separating who was speaking or where it was coming from. Crystal clear.
Awesome. Thank you.
I am a little confused about one thing here towards the end, though, and I guess we can go a little spoilers on this little snippet you gave us. At the end, Beatrice, is that her name?
Yep.
She's married, and
Yes.
you see the backstory with her and the main character. But isn't her husband right there with her in this scene?
So he wasn't there in the scene.
Okay.
He wasn't there in the flashback, and he wasn't there in that scene. Like he was off doing something else, and then he shows up later. But he wasn't there with her like when they have the dance scene, the tango. He was not there.
Okay. Like I said, I might have just missed that. I was confused. I was like, wait a second. I was like, dude, homeboy was right there. You do that? Okay.
The whole thing was a twist, man. I mean,
yeah.
With I'm not going to go too crazy into the plot, but yeah, with the way that the plot was, I was sitting there thinking to myself too. I'm like, I don't know who needs to punch who, because it seems like there's a bunch of butt kicking and someone's still standing on his feet until the end. And I was like, well deserved.
And realistic at the end. Okay.
Really quick, there's a quick spoiler. Like we kind of pay that off later on in the book too. Like he does see them almost kiss. That becomes a thing later in the book. So keep an eye out for that also.
Okay. Okay. And realistic at the end too. I do love how he mentions a number of times about how bad his hand hurts whenever he punched him in the jaw. And for anybody who's never punched anybody, it's not like in the movies or TV shows. It fucking hurts, man. It hurts your hand really bad. I like that, and I was like, okay, cool, that's real. But yeah, man, overall, really good read. I'd like to get up with you and figure out where I can find more of this because I'd like to, continue the story. It hooked me in this little bit you gave me, and I'm interested in what's going on with these characters. Now I've got to know what's up with this love story because I love when you threw a little love story in there too, or a little love twist in there too. I'm like, okay, got you. So it makes it a little more interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
What were your what kind of like influenced your story?
So, to be honest, so Pete and I were kind of workshopping. We worked on one book that kind of like had a lot of start and stops, and then him and I were kind of just throwing around ideas. And you said it before perfectly. Like The Witcher was our biggest inspiration because of that Bard character, like that toss a coin to your Witcher song, like burrowed into my brain, and like I couldn't stop listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like what a fun character that was like kind of the comic relief, right? Like, and Pete explained, Pete's like a veteran D&D player. He explained that bards are not like, they're not everyone's first choice of character. Like they're kind of literally the last choice because they're not the guys doing the fun stuff, right? They're not swinging swords. They're not casting spells. They're just inspiring their party. So I really wanted
exactly
like they raise morale, like that's cool and all, but like that's not really fun, doesn't really lend itself to an exciting game. But like I wanted to take that and really like dig into it, like really like again give this guy this backstory of he comes from warriors, like that's in his blood, and he's not that, him just dealing with being just a bard, and like how he would react to the different situations that he goes through. Like as you saw in Maiden, he's not doing the punching and stuff. Like he's contributing. Like he's contributing by distracting Lady Beatrice with a tango, but like the other cool characters are like off in the background, like doing all the fun stuff. So we get into a lot of that in the book. And again, it's just another way of telling kind of an underdog story without it being so, I guess, like heavy-handed. I mean, yeah, like he does spend a lot of the book like getting chastised for not doing what he's supposed to be doing or what people think he should be doing. But I think, he reaches a certain point in the book where there is a turning point. He becomes a different, I don't want to say different character, but he grows a little bit in the middle of the book.
I like the progression too, because it didn't seem like it was definitely in your face. I mean, we got a small part of a much bigger story, but right at the beginning, I believe the character's name was Jock. When you had him come in, and he was real quick in and out. And then, as Greg said, with the animation style jumped a bit. But even telling like the past story with his dad, Searoar, just going all into it. And I mean, like nothing felt like it was. You did a really good job making it not feel forced.
Thank you.
It definitely felt natural.
Yep. Sarah's up with us now. Sarah, what's up?
Hey guys.
Right.
Hey.
What's going on?
Hey, we're just talking with Matt about his comic, Bardic Versus. You gave it a read, yeah?
I did.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the way it started. Yeah. And I'm really not one to read a bunch of comics because I mean, and there's nothing. I mean, I do like comics though. It's just I just don't have the time. But no, it was an enjoyable read. Like I said, like I heard a little bit. I like the way it started. So you were kind of already in this story. So then you popped into like a backstory of how he got to where I guess he is now, which I love that. So it was very enjoyable. I love the way you could see the evolution of the character, because especially how like the story evolved and the characters and how everybody played into that. And forgive me if I don't remember the names, but
it's totally fine.
Yeah, but I mean it was I really liked it, especially like the very end. He's just like, man, this is bullshit. I'm like, it's like, but no, it was great. I enjoyed it. I really did. I did.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Good job.
So, is this your and Pete's first book?
So it's Pete's first.
Okay.
Pete like kind of dabbled in art all his life, and then sort of put it aside to raise a family. He had a family kind of young, and then so to give our like secret origin as short as I possibly can, him and I have the same day job. I would see drawings around our headquarters that he did for people, and I'm like, who's this guy? Like, does he still work here? Is he still drawing? We finally met up at like the Christmas party, and like the rest was history. We were just like talking back and forth. I got him to do a pinup in an anthology that we were working on at the time called Kayfabe, Volume 3. It was a pro wrestling anthology, and we'd started on the Bardic Verses. It's his first like sequential art, and for me, like I've kind of been doing comics on and off for about 12 years now.
Okay.
I self-published a one-shot that brought me to do some work for hire for a publisher that unfortunately no longer exists, called Double Take, and then I've been doing like anthology work on and off until Bardic Verses.
Cool. So my question is, when you two get together to create these stories, is it an idea and then he does artwork, you do some dialogue, you have to compare and then rough out the edges and figure out what's the best thing for it, or does he do his artwork based off your dialogue and your story?
So it's kind of a little bit of both.
Okay.
I'll write, like, we did it in chunks. Like, him and I are very collaborative. It's not like traditional comics where a writer will write a script, pass it off to like an editor, do some edits, and then it goes off to the artist and the writer never sees it again. Like him and I, like I would write a couple pages and hand it to him, and then he'll look at it and either, start going, or he'll be like, hey, like, what if we did this? What if we blew this page out to make it 2 pages? It was super collaborative. So it was mostly like me writing a script and then him and I like just workshopping it back and forth until, he finished the pages, basically.
See, I actually like that better. I think that system would work way better, because nobody's going to have a perfect idea with either one, but you can come to a compromise with stuff you like, and you can come up with ideas that you may not even thought of. I mean, if you, in the example you were saying with most comics where they're going to write it, send it to an editor, and then it goes to the artwork, like you said, if the artist doesn't like the dialogue or the writer doesn't like the art, it doesn't really matter because they can't do anything about it. It's finished. And I like the idea that y'all can collaborate together and mesh it, or mold it together, I guess I should say. So.
Melded.
There you go.
How far do you storyboard out? Do you just keep it very short and simple, or do you kind of like?
It's more of like, hey, I have an idea for this, and then we kind of talk it out, and then I'll write the script, and we do it like again. So like when we wrote that chunk that you guys saw, that was, first was the intro. That was like the first 5 pages. So I gave him that, and then he ran with it, and then the next part was made into Smite 4. That I wrote that whole chunk, and then we kind of workshopped it. So again, it's just basically like I try to write one portion of it from start to finish, and then we talk it out.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Cool deal. I'm trying to think. That's most of the questions that I had. Ross, do you have anything else you want to know about?
2 things that I really enjoyed, and the first one would be when he was retelling the story of his father, and it was the very end of the panel, last 2 panels, and he was describing how it said "died a hero," and just the way that you turned that into a joke was really great.
Yeah.
And then actually had "died a hero" on his tombstone. That and the fact that he took, Lord Bort's? He took Lord Bort's ride at the very end. He's like, I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm going to take your ride.
Yep.
So first off, thank you. Did you also notice that on his dad's tombstone was his mustache?
Yeah.
That was, I got to give credit to Pete on that. He drew that in that panel, and I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, we have to leave that in. It's too good. And then again, so the horse comes into play later on in the book. We do pay that off. Like, he doesn't get away with stealing the horse.
Of course not.
So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah,
I'm actually hooked. I want to read more. I really do. I mean, I really enjoyed that those few pages. That was really cool. You got me hooked, dude.
That's
good.
That's all I can ask for. That's literally the best compliment I can be given.
Oh,
Is that you're hooked on it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and you've already told us that a lot of these things have a payoff in the future, which is what I like to
Mm-hmm.
hear, because I can't stand whenever something pops out of nowhere. I like callbacks to things that even little bitty things that that you may not pick up on the first time. Just having a callback to that really shows for good writing.
Yep.
It's gonna be fun stuff.
We're doing well. I mean, the Kickstarter is funded. We have about 16 days to go. We just announced the stretch goal is a hardcover, so every physical copy will get upgraded to a hardcover at no additional cost to the customer. We just need to raise another $1,200, which isn't terrible. I think we can do it, but it's already funded. So if we don't do it by some reason, like, I wouldn't be upset, because the book will still come out. So it's good.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really good to hear. And like I said, I think that when anybody sees this story, they're going to feel like we did, and they're going to be hooked on it, enjoy the comedy, enjoy the I don't want to say comedy, because it's not a comedy, but it has good comedic moments. The artwork,
It's
everything.
got humor.
It's got humor. Exactly.
There's humor in it. So yeah.
And well-placed humor. Yeah. So that's awesome, man. I really hope that you guys raise the money for it. That'd be really cool. You said $1,200. You said, or
yeah, just to upgrade it to hardcover. Right now, as it is right now, it's funded.
It's out.
So
right,
if we don't hit if we don't get the extra 1,200, it'll just come out as a soft cover. But if we do the 1,200, every copy will be hardcover.
Nice.
It's that difference between gold leaf and gold foil.
That's
right. Cool deal. Well, I'll tell you what. Where can they find your Kickstarter if they want to donate?
Yep. So we have a direct link. It's TBV. So like the initials for the Bardic Verses. TBVKickstarter.com.
Okay.
Take you right.
And I'll put a link for that in the show notes, and I'll tweet it out whenever we tweet about the show as well. So anybody who's interested, go check it out. And if you don't mind, I'll put maybe like a little small panel or two of artwork so people can see it.
Sure.
Get an idea. Cool deal. All right. Put some of that out there. Cool. Well, is there anything else you guys want to ask him about Bardic Verses? Matt, anything else you want to say about it?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. Just check it out on Kickstarter.
Cool deal. Well, Matt, I told you before, man, we normally cover, just shows, movies, stuff like that. We got a big lineup tonight. I unfortunately didn't get to see a whole lot of stuff, so Ross and Sarah are going to be carrying most of the show, but you're welcome to stay on for as much as you want to talk about whatever you want to. I'll give you a list of the stuff we're going to do, and then we can just go in order. If you want to join us, we'll just start with those. I know you said What If before, right?
Yeah, I definitely saw What If, so I'm in to talk about that.
Let's knock that one out then. I did not get to see it, so this is going to be a surprise for me. I'm going to watch it when I get out of here. That's why
I was late.
Yeah, that's why this day was so shitty. I got called into work and I couldn't watch it today. So, but I still want to hear about it, and I still want to get the word out there about it. So let's talk about it. Sarah, you just started it, or just finished it.
Yeah,
so it's fresh in your mind. This week's episode. What do you think? Overall thoughts? Must be good.
Oh my gosh, it's probably one of the funnier ones.
Yeah,
it's just one of the.
This
funny
is the
ones.
Thor party one, right?
Yes, it is, and it's like, well, of course, me being a mom, I'm like, yeah, Frigga, yeah, girl, I feel you. I totally feel you, because, all right, Odin was in his sleep. He had his big sleep, and she's like, all right, sweet, cool. Now I'm gonna go hang out with my sisters for the solstice. So Thor, you better behave yourself, because this the way it began, it was when Odin found Loki, he gave him back to the Frost Giants. So Loki did not grow up as Thor's brother. So Thor was an only child. And for me being an only child, I understand. But I wasn't that bad though. But
I was wondering.
Yeah, no. My dad pretty much put the hammer down and was like, no, you're not about to act like that. So basically, Frigga, she's like, okay, I'm gonna go to my sister's. Thor, you behave. This will give you an opportunity to, feel like what it's like to be king. Handle stuff. As soon as she pieces out, he's like, bye. So then he hits Midgard. Yeah, so he hits Midgard, and it's just when you first see everybody. They were just, because Jane was in there as well. So, she's seeing all these anomalies, and, it kind of follows that story. But then he lands and he's like, oh, you people of Midgard, blah, blah. Oh, we're about to have a massive party, because he lands in Vegas. I'm thinking, as soon as I see Vegas, I'm like, we're done. We're done. We're done. It's all over with. But yeah, but another thing I was kind of intrigued about was all the other characters that you saw. I mean, the Guardians were there. You know, you had
Oh, so this is a party, huh?
you had Gate. I was like, oh my god. I'm like, that's yeah, okay. So that was crazy. But I mean, it was fun, and of course, I wish Nathan was here because we saw Howard the Duck, and I'm just like, this guy, this guy. So yeah, it was just basically, you know, Thor's just out to have a good time and party, and you know, try to. But the whole thing was Jane had asked him, it's like, well, did you do the same thing on this other planet that pretty much got destroyed? And he's like, oh, no, it was just a meteor. It was burning up. We just kind of helped it out. She's like, dude, seriously. So then she had to bring in the big guns. And, yeah, Mama came by and said, just kind of shut everything down.
Interesting.
I loved it. It was hilarious.
Like I said, I haven't seen it yet, but I was worried about whenever it's a Thor party episode. I was worried it's just like an animated version of Ragnarok. Was what I was afraid we were going to get. I still haven't seen it yet, but it doesn't sound like it's what it is. So
I thought Project X was. I don't know if you ever saw Project X, but that's exactly where my mind went right off the bat because he's, you know, as soon as the parent leaves and he's just jonesing to get out somewhere, and of course he's like, we're going to go to the worst planet ever, Midgard. They go, I mean, like she said, they go straight to Vegas. You know something's going to happen. Just him sitting there dancing. I mean, he just had it going on, laughing the whole time.
But what about the Loki, the ice giant, though? I was just like,
that was the one time I finally felt like I got an answer to a question that I've had forever when it came to Loki.
What if?
Because I'm like, why is he not ever big? He's never big. He's just, you see him turn blue every once in a while, but like, is he holding on to that much magic to where he's constantly like resizing himself, or is he just a runt?
That's a good point.
I don't know.
That's a good point. Matt,
It was good. It was good finally seeing it.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I think of all the episodes, it was probably my favorite one outside of the first one. It was really cool. A tiny bit of a spoiler, but they go to S.H.I.E.L.D., and then S.H.I.E.L.D. calls in the big guns, which is Carol Danvers. And I thought that was the best use of Carol Danvers. Like, yeah, I thought she showed up and like really put the screws to Thor. We got to see like what would happen if the two of them had to fight. And she held her own until, you know.
Was it just me, or did the animated version have more personability?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, she did have she was a little bit less wooden. And I will say, and I'm not going to go further than this, but the end of that episode was probably the most intriguing part of it. It was a great episode, hilarious, but it ends on a cliffhanger. That is super exciting. For whatever the next episode.
And Milnor, I will say this much, got Thor in trouble. He almost he was this close. This close.
My man had like underwear hanging from it. Come on. I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, yeah.
And she almost
it was a hot
it.
night.
I was like,
So my question with these what if episodes that we've been going through and trying to piece together as we've been watching them is about how connected this is, because we know it's technically just Marvel's blanket explanation is this multiverse, so it's all connected. But are there any connections with this episode and others that we've seen so far that you might be able to tie in together?
I want to say yes, specifically because the way this episode ends.
Hey, I say
Right.
this is spoilers too, man. Everybody's watching with me. I don't care. We're spoilers on the show. You can talk about the cliffhanger if it's interesting.
Yeah, so
I have it in my notes. Motherfucking Infinity Ultra Vision.
Yeah. So
Infinity Ultra Vision, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way to put it. This like beefed up version of Ultron in Vision's body shows up like with a bunch of Ultron sentries. Like he steps out of like a portal and shows up like he has the Infinity Stones like in his chest, right? And then he has the Mind Stone obviously in his forehead, the way Vision did. So and he did that. like even the Watcher was like, wait, what? Like, what is this guy doing here? And then it ends. Like,
Okay.
So
well,
I thought it was an odd choice. That they actually used like the Ultron helmet, and then it opened up the Vision's face.
Because that was just like, because I was like, is that Ultron? What? And then when it hit me, I was like, well, I've kind of seen a little bit of allusions to this, and I was, and then Brian, my husband, he's like, oh, that's just, like, okay, yeah, calm down, buddy, calm down.
So that's interesting. You say that even the Watcher was surprised, like you hear him. So where do you think they're going with that then? Let's hear some theories on this. Like, is this a rewriting of the multiverse that even the Watcher doesn't even know about that they're about to go through?
I think it kind of feels like you have like the Doctor Strange moment to where he's like, I could help, but I'm not going to. It's where he has some things to where he's seeing something sometimes. He's seeing the big picture, just watching it unfold in front of him. And then just like in this episode where it's like, oh, I was not expecting that. With the rest of the audience.
Some anomaly that kind of pops up and just, might just kind of throw you for a loop and just,
gotcha.
Okay.
Interesting.
I think that it was a pretty good callback because I've been a fan of Age of Ultron. I mean, yeah, there's some things they could have changed, but at the very end of it with Vision and the last Ultron bot, when they're sitting there having that conversation, you see how close that they are tied together. And whereas, I mean, take it back to Star Wars, one goes dark, one goes light, and then
basically it was just a splitting of Jarvis, wasn't it? Isn't that how Vision and Ultron? It's just like a splitting of Jarvis.
Ultron came of its own through the Mind Stone.
Yeah, but I mean, in essence, it just kind of
Ultron came of its own through Jarvis, and Vision was created through the Mind Stone with the Mind Stone, correct?
Vision was a culmination.
Ultron,
right?
Culmination of Jarvis, Ultron,
and
whatever else they put. But Ultron himself came straight out of AI.
That's right.
With the stone in the beginning of the movie, and then he, off to Jarvis until Jarvis was able to unsnap his proverbial neck. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah,
the humor though.
Yeah,
you got to watch it. The humor is really good.
I'm definitely going to. Yeah, I'm off tomorrow, so I plan on watching all the stuff that I was supposed to watch today. Tomorrow, it's going to be a fun day tomorrow. That and college football. Yeah, big day of stuff.
You'll enjoy the fight scene. It was very American. They had to put the names of the countries on all these other countries. I was sitting there. I'm like, you can't tell what that is, and I realized the kids watch this show, and I'm like, it is a great learning method. Maybe I'm just too much of an asshole.
Well, Matt, you say this is your favorite of other than maybe the first, right? So I'm expecting big things then. Cool. Like I said, I was just worried about it being a big Ragnarok party, animated Ragnarok party, but Marvel's done a pretty good job with the show. It's it's hard for me right now to say if I like, as far as the Marvel shows, if I like What If just in totality the best or Loki, because there's a lot of things that I really like about some of these What If episodes. But I'm not there yet to say it's the absolute best. What If's cool because every week I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to watch it. It's going to be an interesting story, but I'm not like excited and waiting to see what happens next. With Loki, I was always excited to see what happens next. So, but I guess it's because it's not connected. Maybe that could have a lot.
Yeah, I think that's, to be honest, like I think that's how I feel about it. Is that like the stakes are high within its own like contained. I say contained. It's about the multiverse, but like the stakes aren't as high as they would be like in the MCU proper. And I feel like it kind of lacks that like emotional punch that it would if it was like really affecting the Marvel universe as a whole, but because it's contained into this its own multiverse, I guess it's missing something. But I will say, like, the end of this episode, the way it kind of cliffhangered and will I guess pick up in the next episode was promising. Like, I feel like they're obviously building towards a version of Infinity War / Endgame with the version of the Avengers that they kind of introduced in the multiverse or in What If. Yeah.
And they're building towards a Darcy Duck child.
Ew. Yeah. Ooh.
Darcy
Ew.
Duck Child, huh?
I like totally lost respect for Darcy. I was like, come on now, seriously.
It was
Like the
Vegas.
alliteration, though. Good
It
job.
was Vegas, baby.
Oh,
Cool deal.
It was a good time.
been there.
It was
I've been there, but I would not have done that.
With a duck? What?
Oh.
Yeah.
Mrs. the Duck. It was interesting that the cast that they had, once again, Drax they didn't have Batista back for Drax. Captain Marvel, Frigga, and the Warriors 3 were all voiced by other people. So everyone else that was in this episode was all voiced by the original actor, except for those characters.
Okay.
And also I was reading, where did I get that from? I think it was EW. It was the pre write-up before the show came out. And they said that Thor was more Chris Hemsworth-ish than actually like Thor. So they just told him to have fun with it. And it turned out to be really good. And of course, since Howard the Duck was back in it, they had Seth Green. And it was, I believe, AC Bradley, the head writer for the show, basically said to Seth Green, we're kind of doing like a Can't Hardly Wait vibe, not realizing that he was in Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah. Forgot to say that too. It's interesting with Hemsworth, man, because I think comedy is one of his strongest points, man. Like he does some really well comedy. So like, sorry, I know people don't like the movie, but Ghostbusters, man, he's one of the best characters in that movie. Just every scene he's in makes you laugh, and then absolutely loved him in that. And he does funny stuff with comedic Thor too, but my thing is Thor's one of my favorite MCU Marvel characters. I just like seeing badass Thor more than I like seeing end of Infinity War Thor more than Ragnarok Thor. So
I like the range of Thor. I think they do a good job. I mean, it may not be very, very fluid, but I think they do a good job really just showing him off.
Yeah.
And he's gone through talk about one hell of a week.
Yeah.
When Infinity War came around, I was sitting there watching that movie, and I'm sitting there piecing it all together. And I'm like, oh man, all that just kept going on.
Oh,
Nathan says, "What
Thanks,
if Ant-Man
Nathan.
crawled up Thanos' butt and went giant man?"
You're waiting for that one.
That's an interesting one.
You're not the only one waiting for that one.
It's an interesting what if. Are we talking about Thanos in this version? Because he's kind of a cool guy, minus the genocide.
Depends on which multiverse you're a part of.
That's true. Yeah, it's a good point.
Because we don't know where it connects. And to Matt's point, I mean, we know that it's a bunch of stories, but we don't know how much they weave in and out. So,
well, we're going to hopefully we're going to find out how they're all tied together if they are. How many episodes we have left?
This was episode 7.
Is
Right?
there 8
Yeah,
or 10?
episode 7.
8, 10. It's either 8, 10, or 13 because those are always the numbers of episodes. It's 8,
It's
10,
on its way
13.
being done.
Yeah, it's pretty close. So maybe we'll see some connection with them sometime. I don't know. We'll keep covering it until it's over, though.
Matt, what's your view on the animation of the whole show overall?
I really like it. It's a little weird at times. Sometimes it's like it kind of dips into like that uncanny valley sort of deal, but I like it. I think it's really when it sings, it's like really crisp and really cool. It's it's unlike anything else that's out there right now. I'm sure they poured a whole fat bucket of money into that show, so it really shows. I enjoy it.
Disney's good with fat buckets of money. I think they got lots of them.
Yeah.
Lots and lots.
Yeah,
and
you
lots.
just take $100 bill, roll it up, dip it in a little bit of paint, and you can
make the Disney deal. There you go. But yeah, man, I'm ready for the next episodes. I'll tell you that. So I'm ready to see what happens with this. What if it's something that I hope they bring back for multiple seasons? I think they could tell these stories forever because it's endless possibilities. You're right. The stakes aren't as high because it's not part of the main proper timeline, I guess you could say. But it is cool to see them take some actions that you would think, like Tony Stark being killed, in the same episode that they killed Black Panther. And I'm like, wow, they just killed Black Panther and Tony Stark in one episode. They had the episode of just the Avengers getting killed. Like, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, it's a different direction, and I like what they're doing with What If so far. But what does Nathan say? Oh, yeah. Okay, Nathan. Yeah, you're probably right. That's probably what it'll end up being. X-Days. Can't be X-Men. So we'll see what happens. I think Nathan's onto something, but all right. Well, let's move on to some different shows. Matt, we're talking about Star Wars Visions tonight. We're talking about Stargirl. We're talking about, I had it all written down here because there's a lot of them. Doom Patrol, Titans, and Lower Decks, and the first Venom movie. So if you're interested in hanging out, talking about any of that stuff, let me know, and we'll move on to that.
I mean, I haven't seen any of that, but I will. Yeah. I'll hang out just to hang out.
Hey,
that's cool, you guys.
Can do that too, man. Yeah. Well, I unfortunately didn't get to see a lot of stuff, so I'm gonna start out with something I did get to see this week, and it's brand new. Y'all want to do some Star Wars Visions?
Yes.
Because Ross, I know you're a big Star Wars guy. You know, I was impressed with what I saw. I started watching the episodes 1. It was late at night. I was like, I'm gonna watch like the first 3 episodes, and then tomorrow I'll try to get the rest of them in. And I ended up watching all the way through, halfway through episode 7. I fell asleep, so didn't get to watch episode 8 yet. But I've watched the first 7 of what's going on. Really, really enjoyed it. I've definitely got some favorites. I've definitely got some that I don't like that much. These stories are animated in completely different ways, but I know it's all by different animators. And some of them really, really hit me. Like, I really, really liked it. Some of them I looked at and I was like, that's not so good. But the stories in all of them were brought what lacked in artwork, I feel. And some of them, the stories brought them together. Trying to think. We're going to go through favorites. We're going to go through, you know, as far as story and art when we go through this, and then just talk about things we like. So, Ross, I'll start with you with Star Wars, man. Do you like Star Wars Visions so far?
I'm going to ask you one question before we get there.
Okay.
You always say that the more that you watch, the more that you realize you just love animation.
Mm-hmm.
So was there one in here that made you not feel that way?
Yes, but I'll have to look up the episode of it. Actually, I know the name of it. It's the one, Toby.
Okay.
Toby
is very classic.
The animation, yes. The animation in that one didn't really stick with me. And whenever I was watching it, because that one was actually after my favorite one, The Ninth Jedi. I love the animation in that one, love the story in that one. But when I was telling myself when I first started watching Toby, if this episode had been before The Ninth Jedi, I might have stopped watching this show and been like, I can't do this. But as I started watching that episode, my mind changed because the story gets better. And then towards the end of the story, I'm like, wow, that actually ended up being really, really good. So it kind of surprised me. I didn't like the animation at all, but the story saved that one for me. And other than that, man, there wasn't a lot of animation I didn't really like. There was some that wasn't as good as the others. The La Pinocho animation was okay. My favorite animation was the first episode, the duel. It reminded me of the Turtles run. I love black and white, and I didn't know what to expect when I started watching this, because I didn't do like really any research on what it was going to be about or anything. I just wanted to go into it. You know, I knew they were doing a Star Wars show. I knew it was by 9 different creators and 9 different artists, people around the world. So it's going to be a lot of different stuff. And after I got like 10 minutes into the first episode, I was like, wow, this is really, really different Star Wars. And everything's about kyber crystals in this series. Every single thing is about kyber crystals.
They've done a real good job hitting the pressure points of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, I give my overall thoughts. One of the first things I put up, Visions is the Star Wars anime you were waiting for, because that's what every single article out the day before said.
Mm-hmm.
But this thing was a passion project through and through.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone else watched any of the featurettes that went with each and every episode, but all of the artists and all of the companies all basically told their version of what they wanted to. And even though that some of it wasn't, clearly some of it is not for everybody, but I think that it didn't seem like anyone held back. And not to say that they should have been rated R, because I mean, they weren't, some of them had awesome fight scenes, but Star Wars has never really been about blood and gore. So I don't think any of them really held back. I love Japanese culture.
Mm-hmm.
I love the country. It's beautiful. I mean, if anyone's had the chance to see it, it's a beautiful country. And I'm not that big on anime, but I don't know. I've probably watched, I was a car guy, so Initial D and like there's a Count of Monte Cristo anime that was really good. I really loved the Count of Monte Cristo story. But beyond that, anime has never really been much of my thing. But each of these had something that I really enjoyed. And the fact that none of them were canon just made it real fun. There's 5 episodes that mentioned I have a bad feeling about this. There was droids that were just, the names, like you said, Toby, but it's T0B1. I mean, they had fun with all of it, our duo and all the different names that they had in there. My favorite episode was the first one, The Duel, and that was by, was it Kamikaze Doug? Who also did Batman Ninja.
Okay.
But to me, the music was an absolute winner right off the bat. Some of the music in these things was fantastic. And I loved the music in that first one. I found it so funny that they were able to take anime and the style that they did it in. It was all 3D, and they overlaid so much over it to give you such a different feeling. And it felt rustic. It felt the old Ronin, like you were mentioning. But I mean, that was on top of it. They turn around and you got the Hellumbrella saber. I mean,
yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
I thought it was going to be a whole lot cornier, but I mean, the way they made all of that work just popped. And I'm sitting there the whole time just glued watching. And I'm like, no, I don't want to stop. I want, like, if we're handing out trilogies, I want a trilogy of this. Some of the things I didn't understand, like they just had a log that stopped, but
I was trying to figure that one out too. In my mind, they were holding it with the Force. Somebody was holding it with the Force. That's the only thing I could think of, because it was flowing the whole time, and then it just stops.
They had a really good. I mean, they threw in everything. There's a Trandoshan, a Doug riding a Pro Droid, a Tusken Raider.
Yeah, that first episode they went all out, man. There was a little bit of everything in there. Yeah.
The trooper gear that they had it really reminded me of oh Lord, the Cloud Riders from Solo. So when they all came and they all had their own different helmets and everything else that they pieced together, all that trooper gear seemed like it was repurposed in some way, and it was just really fun because each of these universes that they created in these shows did a really good job kind of piecing in something of their own background. Like I said, it was a passion project, so they did a really good job of bringing out what they wanted to bring out.
Yeah, there were they paid really, really good credit to a lot of Star Wars stuff because there were so many little things, like you said. I got a bad feeling about this, and I wish I'd written some more of them down, but there were so many of those little bitty things in there. And they also took stories from Star Wars and kind of rewrote them and told them in a different way. Like I feel like the Twins was a very it was a kind of a take or a twist on what you would get with Rey and Kylo. I felt like the what was the episode right after? If not the Ninth Jedi. Oh, the Elder. The guy who the main character, that was a Qui-Gon Obi type moment. Their relationship kind of story right there. And the guy who voiced him sounded just like Solo, just like Han Solo, like the way he spoke.
Master?
I guess I can't remember his name. The Master, not the Elder. The Master. Okay. Yeah, he sounded just like Han Solo. Like the way he talked is like it was crazy. I was like, I wonder if they're doing that on purpose because it sounds like Han Solo's a Jedi talking. It's like really, really weird. But just little bitty things they put in there. God, Tatooine Rhapsody. Ugh,
which was fun. I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it, but it was fun. I mean, it kind of.
In the end, the guys.
I don't know how they got there.
The bad guy down. I don't like it. I don't like it. I hate that. So, Sarah, I haven't got any thoughts. What do you think about Visions? Did you watch all of them?
I've only seen the first 3.
Okay.
Because I was trying to especially nail the boy down so he could watch it, but I really enjoyed the first one, and I really enjoyed the Duel, and I really enjoyed the Twins. So I thought the twin. I mean, I completely agree about the Duel because it was just absolutely breathtaking. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, and I just love how you have like the samurai / Jedi. Well, but you just have that. That similarity and just the way, he just kind of, comes in and it's, and it's like with the Japanese, which with Star Wars, a lot of that, like, with the Jedi, you can, kind of pair that with the samurai type.
It's full circle. I mean, it all
Yeah,
came from
exactly.
Kurosawa, and I mean, it all came from
Yeah.
all sorts of influences.
So it's just really interesting now that, I mean, they're, taking that or having that take, because to me it felt organic. It just felt so fluid. And especially seeing that Night Sister, I was like, oh, I was like, I know what that is. But yeah, and I thought the twins was interesting too, because, it was just kind of like a different take on, the whole, I first thought, Luke and Leia, but then, I can see what you're saying, like, with Ray and Kylo or Ben Solo. So, I mean, that was really interesting. That one I kind of was like, I didn't put 100%, but it caught my attention.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, and the only really anime that I've seen or whatever, because my boy, he loves Dragon Ball, he loves all that stuff, Naruto and all this. I'm like, hell, some of that shit I can't even pronounce. I'm like, okay, son. But that's one thing, and it's probably a new thing for kids too that do enjoy anime. I mean, I'm sure they, with like us parents, we like, boy, you need to know what the Star Wars. I mean, this is something you need to know. If I don't tell you or teach you about this as a parent, I have failed. So, I mean, I guess it's another way of them seeing a different version of it, of some of these stories where they're, like you said, they're kind of tweaking a little bit. It's almost like I don't want to say it's like a Star Wars what if, but it's just like another viewpoint, so to speak. Yeah, so I think it's a refreshing version, because, you can take certain elements of certain stories and twist it around a little bit, tweak it a little bit, and then you come up with a totally different story. And it doesn't necessarily have to be canon. I mean, I have no problems with just, one-off stories, because, it kind of makes you think a little bit differently. And like I said, it is kind of like a what if type situation. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think you're going to enjoy it as it goes on too, because like I said, I think you told me you were on episode 4 last time I talked to you. 5, The Ninth Jedi, is my absolute favorite. I want to see that as a movie. I could see that as a movie any day of the week, man. Really, really great story in that one. With the twins, it was kind of funny because, Ross, you probably know better than I do. Isn't there a story that the origin of the Force doesn't have something to do with a tree and 2 twins? And they're kind of taking a play on that with this, except not good and evil. They're both Sith.
If you're going to try to talk about that arc, I think he kind of got to separate it a little bit, because this whole thing was about being engineered. The twins were basically designed with, what did they say it was? Was it dark?
I don't know. It was a bunch
engineered
of people
dark
mixing
side
a bunch of
twins
stuff together.
They were wearing powered dark armor, and so
because they had crystals that like actually powered their suits.
Yeah,
which I guess allowed them to breathe in space. By the way,
yeah. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah,
that's the only thing I had
walk on ships and breathe in space. I was like,
I think that's just a glance over.
I was like, all right.
It was a fun fight scene.
It was a fun fight scene.
Yeah. But the droid had a helmet, air thing. The hell was up with that?
It's backwards, Dave.
Yeah,
it's just a little details.
It really blew my mind. They were in spaceships, and then when you see him flying through space, like on the front of surfing on his X-wing, I was like, well, okay. We can do that in Star Wars.
That one had all sorts of dialogue callbacks. I mean, we got to see they had the Holdo maneuver again.
Yeah.
But the saber whips were pretty cool. And
saber whips were pretty cool. I've only heard of that one other time. That was the Gifney in the Bane book. That's the only time I've ever heard of the whip, the saber whips.
Man, I got to try to dig back into all that old knowledge.
Yeah, pretty sure it's from Nathan will let me know. He'll correct me.
You get all the ships in the hangar too. In that, if you sit there and like if you paused it during that scene when they I guess when he was going to the ship and he was trying to steal the one crystal on the one ship, you get like all of the iconic ships minus the Falcon, but there's like a Jedi Star Cruiser, X-Wing, B-Wing, A-Wing. There's all sorts of stuff in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I thought it was crazy. They had the Falcon. You did see the Falcon in here one time, but it was the bad guys had it. It was their ship.
That was
got destroyed too, didn't it?
It was a Corellian ship, but it was.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't the same YT. I don't think. I mean, it could be a YT version, but it definitely had some other modifications done to it. That was in The Village Bride, I think.
Yeah, I think that was The Village Bride. I can't remember though. That episode didn't really stick in my head that great. It was okay. It wasn't great. Like I said, man, The Ninth Jedi for me, I could see that as a movie. These stories are set way in the future, right? Isn't that the idea we're supposed to have? They're set way, way in the future. We're battle with the Sith and the Jedi or no more. Well, we haven't heard from Sith in forever. You don't know of any more Jedi, and lightsabers are illegal, which is why every episode has something to do with
just for that. Just for that episode?
I thought there was more of it though. I thought. No, I guess you're right. I guess they did have lightsabers and everything else. No, you're right. Okay, yeah.
For that episode, it was kind of, past. I'm assuming because they, kept on calling it, even though they normally refer to it as an ancient weapon, they kept on calling it as like a super ancient weapon. No one's had one in a long time. Mm-hmm. So, it was the only one I think that had like a lead-in intro. And by that, I mean, they told a story. They gave you background before
there were two of them. I can't remember the other one, but there were two of them that had that. Yeah, because I noticed that too. That none of them had done that. And then when this one was the first one though. When this one did it, I noticed. I think was it Lapanocho or was it? I can't remember. There was another one that had something where it was leading up to it, talking about it.
But all of them, they had random cast appearances too. In that Tatooine Rhapsody one, the singing one, mm-hmm. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was playing the main singer. He did all those lines. Really? He sung that whole song. Yeah, and they had Bobby Manahan and Tamora Morrison.
I didn't know
because that was the one with Boba Fett in it.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a few of them that had. My favorite thing, besides like the difference in animation and the fact that they told different stories and they were short, and if you didn't like it, you could watch it and move on. Mm-hmm. I gotta stick with it. I mean, Star Wars has always been fantastic for me over the music. I love the twist and everything else they did with the music pieces and all of these. And someone's gonna be screaming for a soundtrack, so I'd be real interested to have those pieces.
So, how far do we see Visions going? Like, are you wanting more and more and more of this? Continue this? Should it be an ongoing thing?
I think they need to take. I think what they've done perfect is that people wanted different Star Wars stories. And even though we have gotten a continuation of Star Wars, we've also gotten some one-offs that worked out pretty well. And I think that if they want to keep this thing going, we need different things. And I think that having this, like I said, I'll say it again, as a passion project, if they allow more people to do that and to, I don't know, tell any story that they want to, whether it be, if they want to keep it non-canon, keep it non-canon. I mean, just have fun with it. The thing that sucks about Star Wars is that it is such a universe that you can do so much with, and we've only seen very little bit of it.
Yeah, but I think if they steer away from that, you're going to have people that are going to be so pissed off about it. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I would love to see some new stories. But if you start to just steer away from that in movies, especially if it doesn't have anything to do with the main storyline, which I don't know what they're going to do with that now, diehard Star Wars fans are going to get pissed, man. Look at just the last three movies that came out, the controversy with those three. I mean,
if Star Wars fans are hardcore, Star Wars going, you're gonna have to look past like diehard Star Wars fans. I mean, I'm an OT guy. I like the sequel, or the prequel trilogy. The sequels, I really love when Force Awakens came around. That revitalization that it did for the whole Star Wars community was that I knew of was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And we got the internet in a different way that even with the prequels we didn't really have. So now everyone has a voice that refuses to quit, even if they don't like something.
I don't know of any other franchises that have that problem.
You're right. It is totally just a Star Wars thing.
Yeah, but I think that they go two routes. Mm-hmm. You have the canon route and you have the non-canon route, mm-hmm. and you play with the non-canon route and you see what fruit of the labor and everything else. You see what comes of it. Mm-hmm. And if something truly does, you turn it into something. Like if the duel really kicks off, then Nathan was just saying that they were doing a piece on it. So
book on it, yeah, I agree, man. I think that you dabble a little bit of things when you have these little short episodes, like you said. If it's something you don't like, okay, you move on. They don't have to do anything else on that again ever. It wasn't a very popular episode, so they just move on. You wasted a 14 or 22-minute episode. the funny thing about these is my daughters, I've tried to get them to watch Star Wars, and they sat down and watched some of it, wouldn't, just never got into it. Tried to get them to watch Clone Wars, wouldn't sit down, wouldn't do it. I was like, okay, animated, maybe they're like that. No, I guarantee you my daughters will watch this just because it's anime. I guarantee, which is fine if that's maybe that's a tool they're using to bring people in. But I guarantee when they do watch it, they're gonna like it, and they're gonna be like, oh, I want to learn more Star Wars, and that's what they're going for. I think probably.
And it's perfect for their attention span.
True.
Yes.
Short and sweet. Yes. Yes. very, very much so. Yeah, man, I'm enjoying the episodes. This is. Do you know when it hasn't been season 2 hasn't been announced if they're doing another season?
I think that when I was first looking at it, I was wondering like if the visions, the whole brushstroke entrance and everything they led into it with was going to be a thing to where they continued, like Visions was going to be like an ongoing line, and they just did different ways of it. But Visions may just be this pocket of stories, and they may not do anything else with it.
So it's going to be like the Pixar shorts at the beginning of the Pixar movies, little 5-minute. Yeah.
There hasn't been any. I don't think there's been any news. I mean, I've looked around, but there hasn't been anything that's screaming out anywhere else.
Oh, you know, you would have gotten emails and alerts and everything else if Star Wars news comes out. Ross, come on. That iPhone.
Pick up my red phone.
That's right. All right, cool. I got anything else you want to say about Star Wars? About Visions? Like I said, I'm enjoying it. It's quick, short episodes. You know, I think I sat down for maybe 2 hours and got through almost all of it. So, I mean, it's really not that. It's like sitting down and watching a movie if you want to check it out, but with a lot of cool different stories. Check out The Ninth Jedi, all those badass lightsabers. The story's awesome. I want that in a movie, in a live action movie, because that would be a badass live action movie. Well, they all be pretty cool back live action movie, except for Tatooine Rhapsody and no, actually, I could watch everything else except for Tatooine Rhapsody. Everything else could be a live action movie.
You know what? For however many minutes it was, I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. It's just when I was watching, I was like, yeah, this story is not for me. Like, this story is obviously made for other people. It's not for me. Oh, I did want to talk about the TOB1 or Toby, or because they even say T0B1 or TOB1 at the beginning, and then they start calling Toby. What a really good episode, man. Talk about an episode that totally changed me. Like I said, when I first saw it, I was like, nope, not going to watch this. But I gave it a chance, and by the end of it, I loved it.
It was very old school Disney animation. I mean, it as soon as before they even started telling the story, right off the bat, when you saw the picture, the little picture, whatever, my mind automatically went to Pinocchio. I'm like,
that's
between
what
the
it
art
is.
and I mean, that is what the story is. But when it was just so weird having such like a classic Disney tale being told in like a Star Wars universe. And I mean, there's so many little things in there between you get an Inquisitor pop up in that one. The Master had no arms.
Yes, that was really weird.
You know, like it was strange. Like it took me a minute, but I mean, like you were supposed to notice it. And I'm like, you know, I didn't know if he was doing the whole like arms and sleeves deal or whatever the case may be, but it had a very anime ending, I believe.
Yes, it was like I said, it changes completely from the beginning to the end. Like the beginning, he's literally hopping around. It looks like a kid's show, hopping around, jumping around. Hey, oh boy, and then you know, like, and then towards the end of it, you know, when he's becoming a real boy, it really picks up and the story takes off. I'm like, oh wow, okay, they did a decent job with that. Like it's a Disney story, you know, it's a Disney story.
And they had the Chirrut Imwe. I'm one with the Force is with me.
Yes,
phrase in that one. So no, it was I thought it was going to be weird, and it was weird, but it was weird in a good way.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I think each of them had something that was just. I mean, watching them so close together, you just kind of, especially like after the first one, because after the first one, you're like, what the fuck? And then you keep going. You have a little bit of something each time that's different, and that's when you realize that, you know, they're not all for you, but they're all fun.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm gonna mark Visions off the list. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about it? I'm gonna say like twice, and then I bring something else myself. So that's what I always do. So.
I mean, I'll say you guys sold me on it. Like I was gonna watch it. It's on my list of things to watch, but it wasn't on the top of my list. Like it's definitely on the top of my list now.
Yeah, you should check it out.
You guys definitely sold me.
Cool deal.
There's so many little callbacks, and there's so many little Easter eggs, and they're so short that I mean, you can sit there and I mean, if you're waiting for a doctor's appointment, if you're, whatever it is that you're doing, you can sit there and pull it up on your phone real fast and watch it.
Yeah, some of them are 14 minutes? Like that's nothing. Like absolutely nothing. So all right, cool. Well, let's see. Star Wars is done. Y'all want to hop into stick around with Stars. Y'all want to do Stargirl?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sarah, I see that face. Did you
I
not
didn't
like this
watch
week?
it.
You didn't watch it? I didn't either.
it.
Okay. So Ross, you're the only one who's watched it. Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to save that for next week and we'll discuss some Stargirl next week?
Well, you guys remember last week's episode?
I do.
Well, the school was magically put back together. There was no damage in the school. The cafeteria was spotless. So it seemed like they were trying to answer the whole brainwave question. It wasn't as good as the last one.
Okay.
But
I think the last one was really good, though. The last one was like that mid-season, hey, we're still a good show. Keep watching us. We're about to go into a lull for a minute, but then we're going to come back with a finale. It's going to be awesome. So,
well, this was definitely the lull, and I feel like they were trying to tell, what's the cat girl's name?
Wildcat. I don't know what her name is, and I can't remember what her name is.
Montez is her last name, but man, I can't. Either way, that whole headache thing they've been drowning and trying to, slowly strangle throughout this whole entire season. They talked about that a little bit, and
is the headache from brainwave? Nailed it.
Stay tuned next week.
Yeah, nailed it. Yeah, I gotta watch it tonight.
It's interesting. I mean,
okay.
The last episode of Stargirl was finally something that was coming up for me, and not that I hated Stargirl. I love Stargirl. Like, it's a great little show to watch. But one of the best CW shows that I've, been a part of in a while.
I think everybody can kind of agree on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel bad because last week was the excitement, and then we got the little bit of lull this week. So
it'll probably be like that for 2 or 3 weeks till it builds up to the finale, and then we'll start to get good again for the last 2 episodes. That's the CW formula, man. I've cracked it. I've cracked it. Just is Stargirl going to be fast enough? Is the only question. Is Stargirl going to be fast enough? That's all I want to know. That's the answer for every CW.
Check out on Flash season 29.
That's right. Is the Flash fast enough? All right, cool. We'll definitely gonna watch that. We'll talk a little more in depth about Stargirl next week. We usually talk a lot more about that. Well, Sarah, what did you see? So that way I don't go to something you didn't see. You saw Titans, right?
Yes. I saw Titans.
Oh, I don't know if Greg wants us to spoil Titans.
No, go ahead and spoil it, because I'm gonna watch it as soon as that's like the one thing as soon as I get out of here that I want to watch, because it's
okay. Well, Greg, what's the one thing about Titans we've been talking about? When are you gonna see them? Who?
Couple different people, but Batman.
No.
Oh, this week. Oh, for real?
Yes.
Okay, so they finally come back this week, so we get to see a little bit of Donna Troy and Raven this week.
Yes.
All right, cool. Does it pay off? It's not just a dropped in, hey, here's the explanation and whatever, right? It's
kind of crazy.
Well done.
It's kind of crazy. Now, the only thing I will say is, like, Theoremeska or whatever, the Amazons. I'm like, okay, y'all are a little stiff. They're like steeped in a lot of tradition and rituals and all that kind of shit, and talking about Donna and what their ritual is with her and all this kind of that was just kind of weird for me.
Yeah.
That was just like super, super archaic. So I'm just
to be fair, it's like the Martha moment. You've already seen it, Themyscira and the Amazons done to perfection. So anything after that is going to be.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody's just kind of, but I mean, it's more of like the. I don't know. That's the only thing that probably didn't deal with me very well, because I just thought that was just kind of weird. That was just from.
I think it was trying to do a balancing act with the story, with Rachel being so, so off the wall. I think they were trying to tell a certain type of story, and they were trying to force the two of them together.
And maybe it was just like another outlook or another viewpoint from the certain ones that are doing. I don't know. It was just weird. That was just weird to me.
So they're in Themyscira.
Mm-hmm.
Donna's not dead.
She is.
She is dead. Okay.
She is dead.
See,
Dead and
see,
that's what I was wondering. I was like, we're talking like they're talking. Is she talking? Is she alive again? What happened? I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like they have her laid out, but then you kind of learn throughout this episode is there's like this ritual that they're trying to do. So you're like, okay, well, have people come back? Have they not? I mean, what exactly is going on right here? I mean, I don't know if is it like a spiritual thing? Is it, just I don't. It was just kind of weird. That's what I mean. It was just kind of weird. But
it's going to be insanely disappointing if like the ritual to bring her back is they go through this whole thing at the very end, they just dump her into a Lazarus pit, right? And pull her right back out. That's the ritual. We have one here too. That'd be crazy.
Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat.
That's right.
Well, I will say, there was, there's a couple of moments, or especially one moment, I was like, what? Okay, I was excited about that. So I was like,
see, I want to spoil the whole thing for you, but I'm going to suck all the fun out of it if we tell you everything and you
Greg,
watch it.
this is one of those episodes you have to see it.
Gotcha.
You have to see. I honestly don't want to spoil this one for you. I honestly don't, because we have been waiting for so long in this season for this shit to happen, or to see these characters,
to see something from them. Yeah,
I don't want to spoil it. Honestly, I don't.
Even though
I'm like, but still.
Does it give you any kind of direct like tie-ins to the story we've heard so far, or is it just like kind of a story set away with just these two? Where we're probably going to get to them coming back and together again. Like, how does?
Oh, there's tie-ins.
There's tie-ins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All I'm going to tell you is that someone ran from a bullet going straight instead of like hanging a left or a right.
They listened, or they didn't listen to me, did they?
No, they didn't. Well, it was that person that didn't listen, and he shows up, and then there's another special celebrity guest. You got to watch it.
Wait, is Joel McHale on Titans now? What's going on? He's making these little appearances on Stargirl. Is he on Titans now?
I wouldn't begin to talk about it if your superhero crush was on a different show.
Okay. Gotcha. No, cool, man. Well, okay, I can accept that then. If y'all are doing it for me, we'll do a super thick review on it next week. So
yes.
That'll be fun. But I'm excited to hear Raven and Don are back, and we knew they were going to be.
Yeah, because and like I said, everybody was waiting for it, because you knew they were at some point. You're like, okay, we're getting kind of down here now, so let's up the ante a little bit. So
yeah, well, I'm just glad they didn't wait till the very
which is
end.
good, because
they
didn't wait till the end.
Exactly.
Yes.
They did. So,
which Ross, there was, speaking of the end of the last finale, there was like one little comment in there that I thought was hilarious as hell.
What's that?
For which one?
It's for this episode.
Oh,
that kind of tied in for the last one, or for like the very end.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I was like, ooh, burn.
Great. Now I gotta text both y'all. I want to see that. I was like, I get it now. I get that.
There's a lot of stuff to watch this week, man. Like I
know. Well, when Doom Patrol and Star Wars Visions dropped in the same like 2 days of each other, that was like, oh crap, that's a lot of stuff. Not that I don't like watching new stuff, but when you're on a deadline to watch it, it's like, oh, okay. And I missed that deadline. So, Titans. All I got to say is, if they start to get this thing where we can bring people back from the dead, bring Hank back. Some way, shape, or form, bring Hank back. Not that I really care about Hank being back, but then we'll get Dove back. And that's what I really, really want in the show. Because she's not coming back without. Oh,
maybe.
Oh,
you've halfway made it.
Oh, well, good. I need to see this episode. Bad. Hey, I'll be right back.
You do. You do. You need to put that at the top of the list. Top of the list.
It is. Like I said, I've got it queued up in the bedroom.
That's why I sent you that text today, and I'm like, if you're gonna watch anything,
top of the list.
Watch like these two things.
Okay, that's a very good point.
We push on Doom Patrol though.
Yeah, let's do it. Oh wait, how many F-bombs were dropped in the first 6 minutes? You think was it? Give the over under 20 or 10
of Doom Patrol.
Closer. Yeah, Doom Patrol.
It went until a little bit later.
Really? I remember last year I counted in an episode, and it was insane the number of times. Yeah.
Doom Patrol is such a stupid, funny ass fucking show. I'm sorry. It is the first time I watched it, I was like, this is so stupid, but I'm in fucking love. I love it. And just knowing everything that went into it, the people they brought into it and everything else, it was amazing. The second season didn't disappoint me at all. And then the third one came out and they dropped the first three. It was Possibility Patrol, Vacay Patrol, and Dead Patrol. And
I only saw the first two. I can only squeeze in the first two, so I haven't seen the third one yet. Which that'll probably take care of that afterwards. But
is it a direct continuation from the end of season 2? Because the end of season 2 left you on a cliffhanger, big cliffhanger.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. It's almost like they walk right into it.
Right into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that there's supposed to be like an implication, like a different amount of time, maybe for what's her name? Dorothy may have had like a different amount of time, like in a different time and space. But beyond that, no, it was a direct pickup.
Awesome. That's what I was hoping for. I was hoping they weren't just going to leave that story dead and then like come back to it later or something like that. I wanted to see what happened with that story. Okay. It's so funny, man, because I know when I first started watching Doom Patrol, I didn't like the first few episodes, and I was like, I'm not really about this show. I got a little further into it, started to like a little more, then ended up falling in love with it because you fall in love with the characters and everything else. The worst thing about it for me was when I hear Brendan Fraser talk, all I can see is his face. And when I first heard him as Cliff Steele, I was just like, I can't buy it. I can't buy it. Now I'm so in love with that character that when I see Brendan Fraser in another movie, I can't see him as anything but Cliff. I went for him to drop some F-bombs. Like I was watching Blast from the Past the other day with my wife. Well, he's so young. He's like in his early 20s there, man. And I'm just waiting for him to drop an F-bomb. Like, come on, dude, do it. And he didn't do it the whole time. And it really, really.
Not my Rick O'Connell. Come on now.
But yeah, this is a show that has really taken off for me. Excited about season 3. I need to go back, and I think it's actually probably good that I didn't see the first 3 episodes yet. I think I want to go back and watch the last 3 episodes of last season, or at least the last episode of last season, just to get a slight refresher on it, because there was a lot going on at the end of last episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows that I will rewatch, if not the whole entire series, at least like,
just for a new season.
Yeah, just for a new season. Like I love The Expanse. I mean, ever since Amazon picked it up, I don't think it was as good, but the last season was pretty good. But The Expanse was one of those shows, like I would just put it on and just watch the whole entire thing because, we talk about shows to go to sleep to. I could put that on and have no problem with it. Doom Patrol, so fucking hilarious. I could do the same thing. Cliff Steele has, I mean, everything that comes out of his fucking robotic mouth is gold.
Yeah.
And
I was really
just
surprised
the
how
amount
much
of
I
hate.
remembered from the last season because because they do have a recap for every episode. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to jump in. I'm just kind of curious what my brain will remember, and it's like I feel like I didn't skip a beat. I mean, and that's what's so crazy about it. I mean, because it's like, oh yeah, it's like I saw certain. Like the first couple of scenes, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, exactly. All this, and then, especially coming into, because I'm curious to see how Larry's character, where else is going to go, especially with the negative spirit, because there was a whole lot of stuff that went on with them in last season, and I was I wasn't disappointed. I'm like, yep, we just jumped right into it, some crazy shit. But anyways. So,
yeah, well, for what it sounds like with this season, it sounds like it's slightly different than they did with the first season. I was hoping they were going to do like y'all are saying they did, where it's just kind of a walk straight into the same story, and you just pick up where you left off. End of the first season wasn't like that. Like they had a conclusion to the end of the first season, and then the second season
got kind of cut short, anyways.
Yes, because of COVID. I don't think it was supposed to end the way it did. So I'm wondering if they're doing the thing that Titans did with the end of season 1 and season 2.
So I was looking for the differences. I was looking for differences between what I can remember about the finale of season 2 and the premiere of season 3. Because we're left at the end of season 2 where they're all in wax, the candle maker and everything else. And when season 3 opens with that scene, and it was hard to tell. You couldn't really see much of whoever does the makeup and the costuming they keep it so generic, like with Rita, she always looks the same roughly every single time, unless she's a blob. There wasn't anything that felt out of place. How some shows can do that between seasons to where it feels like fucking everything's changed, aged 5-10 years. But this one was pretty a fluid
it just
transition.
felt like, yeah, exactly. It was exactly. It was like a fluid transition. Exactly.
Now, the CG, they don't use their money in this show for CG. The Candlemaker himself is a horrible, horrible computer graphic. That, and I think that they used what was the other? Kate's dad in this episode, where they had that weird story with Jane being stuck in the underground, and was it Miranda was the other girl? And so Miranda was trying to stop Jane from going back, and they were all kind of working together to push her out, and Miranda like concocted this gigantic computer graphic Kate's dad bust, and the graphics were really horrible on that too. But what's funny is that when we watch shows like Stargirl, I mean, some of those graphics are really good. We were talking about Thunderbolt. I mean, it was still a great little CG, artistic deal thrown into it. But with this show, it just, I think it plays the overtopness of this show.
Right.
And it doesn't bother me, but I'm like, ugh, that's pretty bad.
Well, it's interesting they do it like that. One, especially with it now being on HBO Max, so they got the funding. And I would imagine this show was originally created on the DC universe. I don't know what their budget was like for there, but
there's like a certain type of feel to this, to the way they film it. To me, it just feels like there's almost like it's almost like there's a filter on it. I don't know. It's weird because it doesn't see everything. It almost feels like it's in the past, but yet it's set now. I mean, it's just kind of to me, it just feels like a filter. And like you were saying with that one graphic, which I think he was made of puzzle pieces anyways.
Yeah, no, it was, but
so
even
that's
then
why
it
it looked
felt
kind
off.
of, that was just a weird concept anyways. So I'm like, okay, anyways. But yeah, there's always been like that, just that one feel, for the whole thing. So maybe that's why some of the graphics look the way they do, and they're not clear and concise, like you would see for like a Stargirl or anything else.
I can't create an argument for a show that did such a large part inside of a donkey's ass. I can't come up with a legitimate argument for anything because they do stuff like that. Yeah. And they make it work in such the best stupid way.
I was sitting here in my mind. I was like, what scene is he going to say? What scene is he going to say? Because there's a few of them that are like that. Like, did they really just do that? The whole city orgasming at the same time.
Yeah.
What about the sex ghost just running around? I'm just like, okay.
They never left.
That's awesome. Cool.
The scene with Niles has been like, I guess we're doing this, and just starting unbuttoning his shirt. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, well, and see that's one thing I wanted to ask you guys, and it sounds like it's not any different. I wanted to ask you if it felt different from DC Universe to HBO Max, and it doesn't sound like it does. It sounds like they picked up right where they left off, and it feels like the same. Because I know certain shows are like that, like Lucifer. When it went to Netflix, you could definitely tell it was a different show on Netflix. Not in a bad way, but you could tell it was a different show, or they had different rules they were playing by. That they were pushing it a little more edgy than they were on network television. So. Yeah, I just didn't know if how it was going to affect the quality of that show. But then again, this is only the first 3 episodes. Like I said, I think that because season 2 got cut short, they're doing like they did with Titans season 1 and beginning of season 2, where the beginning of this season is what the end of last season was supposed to be, and then we're going to go into this season's story. And they could go that way. I don't know. So I still haven't seen the episodes yet, so I can't tell you. But
it's fun.
Yeah.
Now I'll feel bad about not doing my homework.
I couldn't. They wouldn't let me watch my TV at work. I was sitting trying to. They wouldn't let me do it. So, phone calls. Let's see. All right, so we got Titans. We got Visions out of the way. Doom Patrol. Not really Stargirl. Lower Decks and Venom is all I got left. Do you want to knock out television shows and then we'll talk some Venom?
Sure.
Did you not watch Lower Decks? Because I know you watched Venom.
No, yeah, watch Venom.
I said I know you watched Venom. Okay.
Yeah, Lower Decks, but Lower Decks. Just I want to give a little more time to that one because I love that one so much, and I
Let's
feel
do
so
it.
awful for like.
Dude, I'm
I
caught
didn't
up on
watch it.
I'm caught up.
I didn't watch it. I know I suck. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I've watched the whole entire thing now, and am fully caught up. And number one, the show is chocked full of references more than anything else that I think I've seen, like, period. With all of every single Star Trek reference, because they're like every 5-10 seconds, and I'm just sitting there the whole time like, oh yeah, that happened too. Yep, that happened. Yep.
Dude, you can make a drinking game of every
Oh.
TNG reference. You could literally make a drinking game. And
Everything.
Every
Every Star Trek. Yeah. The only thing that bothers me about this show is when they do the screen on with that sound. That has been my ringtone for years, but I never ever rarely hear it. And so it's been one of those things ingrained in my head that if I hear it, then like I need to like find out where my phone is because I'm not a sound on person. And now I hear it every single time. I'm like, damn it. Like I'm like, every time.
Somebody got conditioned.
But no, great show.
Well,
yes.
It's funny.
If only I could do it for certain other things.
Yeah. It's funny you say sounds like that, Ross, because I'm like that with the lightsaber. Lightsaber is my ringtone now, or one of my alerts now. And the other day I can't remember what I was watching, but the volume was down so low that I couldn't really hear a lot of it, but I had subtitles on and I kept hearing lightsaber go off. Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that like, as soon as I hear it, I know it's my phone, but I still look up at the screen to see where the lightsaber's on the screen. Like, oh, who's drawing a lightsaber? And I'm thinking about it too. If I'm behind somebody in a store, that's got to strike fear in their heart, man. To be at a grocery store and hear, zoom. If it was me, I'm looking to see where the lightsaber is. I'm personally, and I've had a couple
there's
guys.
Nothing better than that.
So yeah,
nothing better than that meme to where the guy goes into the bathroom and then the ringtone goes off as soon as he unzips his pants.
Pretty good. Don't think I've seen that one, but that does sound pretty good. But Lower Decks, man. This show's just funny, man. It's one of these things that I'm genuinely I don't know as much about Star Trek as y'all do, but you don't have to get some of the jokes they're doing to say. I like to think of it as what was the show I described it as before? A Futurama of Star Trek. That style of comedy where it's just kind of like little things here and there. There's certain stuff that they don't even point out that's just in the background, but if you notice, you're like, holy shit, that's funny. They do a really good job of that with the show. Like I said, I'm not a Star Trek guy, but this show kind of makes me want to watch more Star Trek along with Sarah and along with another show that I just started watching that, oh my God, I'm going to talk about in a minute. Which Lower Decks brought me to. I was watching Lower Decks. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm turning TV on. I'm watching. I was like, I'll watch some Lower Decks. I'll catch up on that. Watch the last episodes. Yeah, and as streaming services do, if you don't stop it, they're just going to play the next thing they think you're going to like. I didn't stop it. I didn't stop it. And Discovery started, and it got like 3 minutes into that show, and I was like, oh, what have I not been watching? Discovery's fucking amazing. Discovery.
The first episode.
Yes.
How would you say?
You did tell me so. And now I've got 3 seasons to catch up on it because that show is fucking amazing.
That's why I banked up and just went ahead and did the no commercials because I'm like, I need to binge through all this stuff real fast and then go back.
I found that I don't mind commercials as much as I used to. It gives me a second to walk away, get a drink, do whatever without having to hit pause. Saves my finger the rep. I've only got so many reps in these fingers, guys. Come on, like I'm counting them down. I'm getting
your
older.
finger's not going to be on the pulse.
So. But no, check out Lower Decks. It's hard to really talk about like the plot or the theme because there's no real straight storyline going through this. There is kind of one in the background, and they reference things that have happened before, but it's more just kind of in a daily adventure or whatever the hell's happening on the lower decks of the Centurios. So is that Centurios? Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing about these episodes too, because they don't. They're very loose, so you can look at one. You don't necessarily have to watch them in order, because Yes, there is some type of continuity, but for the most part, you can take one episode and watch it unto itself.
Mhm.
So you can kind of skip around. So it's not really one, so like if, for instance, if I decide to watch, one tomorrow, either, the boy can be in there or the husband or, or whomever. And like my husband, he'll sit there and watch it too. But you don't have to watch every single, like I said, in continuity in order for it to make sense. So
Yeah, I
they
think,
basically kind of stand on their own. But yeah, it's. But if you
The
know, if
episode
you get
before last.
references, though, it's you about die. I mean,
The last episode was the one where they went to the ball, right? Or to the party?
The
That's
party.
episode
Mhm.
5.
Yeah.
Episode 6 was the one where they went back to the plackets, whatever.
Yeah, the package.
That's the only one that's kind of had a tie-in,
Mm-hmm.
and then the new one was
The new one, she referenced him leaving the ship before because her and him were hashing out their friendship. Boiler and Mariner. They were hashing out their friendship, and that now you see that the angst, the reason why, at least this season, she's been somewhat different to him, I guess. But
well, she's still mad at him because he left. He went
that's
to
that's what
he
she brings
served
up
on the
to him.
Titan, so he was mad. She's still mad about that.
I thought was very interesting how they chose to
Bring it back.
to fix that whole tie-in.
Yeah.
So
I was wondering myself, and like I said, I don't know about Star Trek. I didn't know that was a thing, like replicating. How they do it?
Mhm.
They replicated him, and they sent his clone back. So, all right, cool. Hey, these child-proof bottles are not dog-proof. At least not my dog-proof. Obi-Wan knows how to open it up. Just letting you know. His name's Obi-Wan, of course.
Don't even talk about dogs and getting into shit because no. My dog, the younger one, he ate freaking golf balls and hats and all kinds of shit tonight. So
he ate golf balls whole.
He chewed them all. No, he chewed them to hell. He chewed them all to hell up.
I was gonna say, have fun with that.
oh, it's even rough.
I'm telling this dog is gonna end up. He's gonna end up eating something. It's gonna kill him. That's why I wigged out last week because I thought he had eaten something and he was sick. And I'm like, this dog is gonna end up killing himself.
Ross, did you tell that as a joke? That's rough. Was that supposed to be a joke?
It just worked out that way.
It's just perfect timing. Hey. All right. Well, check out Lower Decks. I'm gonna catch up and start watching Dynasty. Discovery as soon as I have a little bit of free time to get some episodes in.
Well, get caught up because the 4th season starts in November.
I think I can do it. I think I can.
November 18th.
So I got time. Will I get it done?
For Halloween, you have
Probably
Prodigy,
not, but...
like you said you wanted to get in on. So
yes. When does the Prodigy start?
Right before Halloween. It's the 28th.
Well, see, the good thing about new shows like that is they're like new comic book arcs for me. I don't feel bad if I walk in the comic book shop and I see something on issue 1. I'm like, oh, sweet, I didn't miss anything. If I walk in, it's like issue 4. I'm like, shit, I gotta go back and find these back issues, and they gotta be first prints, So like, it's difficult to find the first print sometimes. But, all right, cool. Last thing on the list.
I got one more show before you jump to a movie. I'm just going to throw it out there. I watched the first 2 episodes of Foundation. I know it's not everyone's jam, but the cinematography and the camera work and the graphics and everything are really fantastic. And I'm hoping they stay true to the story. But they released the first 2 episodes, and flaw-wise, I can't find much. The spaceships look awesome. The premise is awesome. They're doing a pretty good job. It's been a while since I read the books, but they're doing a pretty good job keeping it pretty well in there. I would almost dare to compare it to something like Game of Thrones. But
okay.
I think a full season will definitely tell, but definitely worth the check out for anyone that has the TV Plus.
I might check it out. Speaking of stuff to check out before we get into this movie, I watched something the other day, and I didn't get to watch the whole thing. And I didn't get to pay enough attention to it, but from what I saw, it was pretty badass. It had Gordon Levitt in it and Jamie Foxx. It's a Netflix movie. It was #1 on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Super something. I can't remember what it's called.
It's the one about the drug.
Yes, where they're taking these super pills.
Mm-hmm.
Check that out. Like I said, I didn't get to see the whole thing all the way through, and I didn't get to pay as much attention to it as I wanted to, but man, was it good.
It was a good Netflix movie.
Mm-hmm. So, I wonder how it met. I'll have to message him, see what happened. But all right, well, let's talk Venom. Once again, the movie that I was going to watch last night, but Carolina Panthers football comes first, obviously. So still haven't seen this one yet, but I plan on seeing it before I go see the second movie, which comes out next week, correct? Next weekend?
Yep.
Okay.
First.
I've got tickets for the second.
That's right. You showed me the tickets. Good deal. So we get to see little Woody Harrelson as Carnage. That'll be fun. But overall thoughts on the first movie, since y'all have seen it. Everybody loves Tom Hardy, right?
Yes.
Who doesn't love Tom Hardy? I've never seen anybody talk shit about Tom Hardy.
And that's the thing about it, is like the first time that I saw Tom Hardy is when he was Picard's clone, Shinzon, in Star Trek Nemesis. Mm-hmm. So that's where I recognized him from. And this was before, Bane and all this other kind of stuff. So, but the one thing about Venom, which we rewatched it on Wednesday because it's one of those movies, shouldn't let the boy watch it, but we let the boy watch it. So anyway, so we enjoyed it. And it's one of those movies where I remember when it came out and it didn't really have any appeal to me. I was just like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Finally saw it. Oh my gosh, I loved it. I probably laughed more than I should have because Tom Hardy is just so fantastic with, a lot of his delivery. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he just gives so much, I don't know, just so much whatever to, the character as Brock. And then, of course, Venom, I mean, that was just that. Well, the whole idea of the symbiotes, them having their own names, really, that was kind of weird anyway. So I'm like, okay, so you don't really think of them, because you always think of it as just the symbiote that just kind of like takes over, not really some kind of sentient being, or at least that was, my take on it. But I don't know. It was just funny. It was probably funnier than I had anticipated, but I mean, it was like, no, you can't bite off his head. No, we're not biting off heads. No. Or if we're going to do that, we only do that to very bad people. We don't do that to good people.
It doesn't count if it's bad people.
We gotta have boundaries. We gotta have boundaries. But I really love that interaction too. So,
so real quick question before I forget about this. You said you probably shouldn't let the kids watch it, but you did anyway. When you say that, is it strictly violence? Is it cussing? Is it nudity? Like what is it about?
Well, I think it's actually rated PG-13.
Okay.
And when we
it's
sat
just
down,
a hard PG-13. What you're saying?
Yes, a hard PG-13. Okay. So yeah, there's a little bit of language. There's a little bit of violence. There's a little bit of people die. And then you're like, oh, he just bit his head off. Okay, well, not once but twice. So, okay. But anyways, I mean, it's not like graphic gore or nothing like that. It's just the idea of like, which I think, when did this movie come out? I know it's been a few years. It's been a couple of years, or it's been a minute.
18.
I think. 1 second, I'm looking it up.
That's what I'm saying, because I was trying to think, because it's a Sony movie. It's a Sony version.
Yeah, but this is when that whole July 2020 was when. No, wait.
No, a little further
Sorry,
back.
that's the Bates run on Venom that I'm reading. I guess whenever I type in Venom release date, and the one I've been looking up and reading, it comes up. So no, that's when that came out, July 2020. I was like, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. 2018 is right.
Okay.
Yeah.
October 5th, 2018. So almost directly 3 years after, like to the date. Same weekend, 3 years later. Pretty cool. Matt, have you seen Venom?
I did. I think here's my issue with it. Like, it took me a while to wrap my head around it, because how do you have a Venom movie with no Spider-Man? Like, how do you have Venom with no Spider-Man? Like, how does that doesn't make sense to me. But I guess like the way I kind of like wrap around it, like in my own head, is that like this is a multiverse, right? So this is a Venom with no Spider-Man. But there seems to be, I don't know for sure, but there seems to be like signs pointing at that maybe we might see Venom and Spider-Man down the road. But I really liked it. I thought it was like, it reminded me of like an Odd Couple kind of movie. Like the relationship that Venom has with Eddie Brock is like super hilarious. And I think it was a lot of fun. Like once I let go of like my dumb continuity like issues, I just had fun with it. I think it's a better movie than I had anticipated it being, and I'm really like honestly looking forward to the sequel. And I'm glad that they kind of fixed Cletus Cassidy's hair, because I don't know what they were doing with that like wig that they had him wearing in that last scene, but woo, it's bad.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to feel about Woody Harrelson with Carnage. It's going to be interesting, but I've seen that a lot with people where I don't see them as a character, see them as its character, and they end up nailing the role. You know, every time I think about that with the casting, everybody goes back to the what's his name, Heath Ledger. That's always the one everybody goes back to, because they're absolutely right. Thought that was a terrible casting and absolutely nailed it, which is what gives me faith in what's his name playing Batman now. That and the fact that the first preview was pretty bad. Yeah, for the fact the first preview was pretty badass, I'll give you that. But yeah, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. But once again, I haven't seen any of this, so I don't really know how I feel about this whole universe. Venom's one of my favorite Marvel characters, or Marvel anti-heroes, which is why it's hard for me to say that I haven't seen this movie yet. But man, as kids get older, I just get less and less time to go see movies. It's only the major ones that I go see, and I think that I didn't. If this had been a Marvel movie, if like MCU was making Venom, I would have already seen it. And I hate saying it like that. It sounds a little studio bias, but it's because I want to keep up with that story, first of all. And it's Marvel. I know I'm going to like the MCU movie. There's only been one that I haven't really loved. I don't hate it, but didn't love it. So that has a lot to do with it, I think, is the reason why I didn't see it. It wasn't an MCU movie, and it was an MCU character. And Matt, what you're saying is absolutely correct. It's hard to wrap your head around the idea of Venom without Spider-Man, because in my mind, there is no Venom without Spider-Man. But they had to take certain liberties with it for the show, or for this movie, which is, brings to Sarah's point of the naming the symbiotes. So they kind of took their own story with that, which sounds pretty cool. And I'm interested to see how they did.
Well, I kind of took it as like kind of like a prequel type deal. It's like, okay, here you're being introduced to them. So then I just kind of felt like maybe it's just leaving the door open. Okay, we have this. We'll give you this story to see, kind of tell you how it started. How he came to be. And all this kind of stuff. And then we'll throw the Spider-Man. Then we'll bring Spider-Man in, and then get him in there and just kind of. But it was weird seeing them both like fight each other. And because you had Riot, and that's what I'm saying. That's why you came to, because they had different colored ones too. So that was just weird. And just the thought of a planet with nothing but these there. Oh my God, that's just terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying.
Is so wet.
I know, it's just like I'm like, oh my God, it's like my daughter's slime. Like if it could like, oh my God, oh, it's terrifying. Oh. But yeah.
So question, would the three of y'all rather see this Venom in the MCU or see MCU Spider-Man in this Venom universe? Or, I mean, I get they're eventually probably all going to be tied together anyway, but say they're not going to be.
I think I'd like to see this Venom in the MCU. I think there's room for like what if this Venom and Tom Holland Spider-Man like have some kind of interaction, and that's where we get maybe Venom leaves Brock for a little bit and latches on to Tom Holland. Then we get the black suit Spider-Man for a little bit, and then he goes back to Brock, and then we get the actual like comic book Venom with the white spider on his chest, because he kind of takes that, he finds out that he hates Peter Parker. And we get the true comic book Venom that way. Like maybe there's something along those lines that could happen. I think that would be kind of interesting.
I like that. What you, Ross? Which would you rather have?
I'm perfectly fine with this Venom. I think that everything that Matt said earlier, I didn't catch everything Sarah said. Everything that Matt said earlier was true. I think that what Sarah did say about it feeling like a prequel is what made it work for me, not having Spider-Man involved, because I didn't want Spider-Man involved. I feel like if you're going to tell a Venom story, do the work. Do the work that doesn't just have him show up, because I felt robbed in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man because I didn't feel like they did enough work. When you want to tell Spider-Man's all of his evil villains, give them all the work,
Mm.
make it work, because he's their number one guy.
Mm.
And if you're going to try to build something off of him, which clearly Sony has held on to those rights because Spider-Man is humongous, do the background, do the Marvel work. They made these agreements with Marvel because they wanted to, I guess, boost the image again. They did Amazing Spider-Man. It didn't come out to be everyone's favorite. People still talked about, I mean, it was Star Wars all over again, how the Sam Raimis were the original and you can't do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
I liked parts of the Amazing Spider-Man movies,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to see something fresh, and they gave me something fresh. They told a Venom story, and I think that bringing this Venom into Tom Holland, Marvel, Sony, Spider-Man is
Mhm.
the way to go, because it's so good. I mean, like, it's the character's three-dimensional and not just visually. There's so much that goes on, and so much that makes you laugh, and all the undertones of the humor, and just seeing the trailer for the new one, with the cooking the breakfast, and you're like, such an asshole.
Mhm.
Why? And then you can't get rid of them.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you're saying that about them doing a Venom story. Do a Venom story, do your homework, because there's not a lot of characters from a big characters rogues gallery you can do that with. But honestly, most characters from Spider-Man or Batman's rogues gallery, you can do that with. You could make a solo movie with just them. Look, they're making a Morbius movie. That's from Spider-Man's rogues gallery. They're making the Venom movie. We have the Joker movie. It's just Joker without Batman. You can do this with some of these characters, and it
You
works.
keep recycling.
But not with all. I don't want a Captain Cold.
Oh, no, not
stuff like that. Like, you can't do it with all of them. But there are certain characters based on just the main character they come from in the comics and in the source material, that you could definitely have these villain movies and have no problem with it. I'd love to see a villain movie of building up the Sinister Six. It'd be fun, like an actual Sinister Six movie.
Read the internet. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I know, but it is, but it's not. So I don't know. Hey, we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to see Venom for the first time. I'm gonna see it before I go see the movie next week. I think that I might actually try to do a double feature next week, because I still haven't seen Shang-Chi, but I'm hearing great things about it.
It's awesome.
Ashley's going on a retreat next weekend with her work friends, so I've got the whole weekend to myself. So I might be spend a little bit of time to check out some movies next weekend at the movie theater. I can't take my kids to go see Venom 2, though, I don't think. Well, I can. They're 14 and 11.
I'm taking mine. I'm not gonna lie. I'm taking
they're
mine.
14 and 11. They can see Venom.
I'm taking mine.
Dude, it's PG-13.
Yeah.
I know my daughter. She's 8, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta see my babies. I gotta see Brock. I've got to see Venom." I'm like, "What? Okay." Anyways, like, okay, you're fine.
You may want to question that a little bit deeper.
Don't. Well, this is the same little girl when she was like 5. She's like, "Anakin's my boyfriend." I was like, "Okay," but anyway,
you better have a comfortable couch. Come lay down. Tell me about what it is that's going on inside your head.
Oh, she's a mess. She's a mess, but it's my children. I mean, what do you expect? If I get it honest.
Kids are a mess, that's for sure. And I was mistaken earlier. I said Bates. I don't know why I said Bates. It's Don Cates that I was talking about, the Venom run. I don't know why I said Bates. But that's it, y'all. I got nothing else. Do we have anything else on the list? I think we covered everything. Yeah. So we had a bigger show this week with more stuff to cover, but simply because I didn't get it all watched, we didn't have as long of a show this week as we normally would. But it's still pretty fun time.
There's a little bit of the Disney news, and that was just that they're going to do the Disney Plus Day. Shang-Chi is coming to Disney Plus on November 12th, I think, is what
that's
the day was.
When I'll see it then.
Yeah, I really want to see it too, but
yeah, that's probably when I'll see it.
I can't play the movie theater game just yet. So, besides that, there was that whole dust up with Star Wars and Marcia Lucas. I did watch the Injustice trailer, finally. I don't know why that took me so long, but capital B-R-U-T-L, man. That trailer was pretty brutal.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, get into some DC animated, you're gonna freaking love it. If you like the MCU, man, DC did the same thing with well, not the same thing, different story, but they built a huge movie arc to one big story, man, and then they fucking reset it. And now I'm looking at all the stuff they're doing resetting. It's good. It's good, man. Tomorrow, all that stuff's pretty good, but it's not like the first run of the DC stuff. But man, you really can't get into those movies that much. And like I said, I got a old list of them in order, which I know Ross probably has that.
Send it. No, I don't have that one.
So okay, I'll give you a list.
I got all sorts of stuff, but I haven't
Yeah.
created like a good DC one yet.
Yeah.
No, the football. You're into football, so I don't know if you saw the trailer for the American Underdog, the Kurt Warner story movie.
No,
I've heard about that. I've heard about it. I haven't seen it though.
So Zach Levy's playing Kurt Warner, and the movie looks pretty decent. But
Zach Levi?
Zach Levi. However you want to say it,
I'm making sure I'm the right person.
the tie-in, yeah, that person. And the only other thing that I had was the possible strike. So the International Association of Theatrical Stage Employees, along with the Alliance of the Motion Picture and Television Producers, are talking about going on strike because of like unfair work conditions, just like the rest of the world has. But working too long a day and not getting enough compensation, like breaks in between like projects and whatnot. So I don't know how that's going to affect what we currently have on the books as far as things coming out.
I bet if they went and worked in the service industry, they might think a little differently what they're talking about. I'm not saying I've never done their job. I can't say it's not hard, but go do it for $2.13 an hour, or something like that, and we'll see what happens. You know.
Did you ever watch the They did the making of some of those Game of Thrones episodes, and those people are up hours at a time. You're filming in all sorts of conditions. You're all over the place. I love TV and movie, but once again, I love it from sitting right there.
Yeah,
and I love it from the comfortable view of my couch. And those people that make it, we're in the South, so bless their hearts for putting out such great content when they do. But I also couldn't imagine, some of this. I've worked some crazy ass hours in my own lifetime, and just like I know we all probably have somewhere somehow, but to do it on and over and over and on again, it just, at some point when you're on a union, I guess you just get that privilege.
Dude, short of a guy, I'll do almost anything for the right amount of money. Yeah. Seriously, I get it, and like I said, I don't know their hours. I'm being a smart ass, kind of, just intentionally being a smart ass. But they
it's rumored as 16 hour.
They get paid pretty well. Yeah, as I just finished my 16-hour day in my civil service job and came home to my 1,800 square foot house. Yeah, like a lot of those. That's not the situation that a lot of them are in. A lot of those, you're taken care of very well for the most part, I would think. But I'm sure not everybody who works those jobs, every position is. But I'm kind of talking on my ass right now. I don't really know a whole lot. I just feel like when I hear somebody else complain about hours, I just think about myself all the time. I don't know. Maybe it's me being selfish or whatever. But
that is selfish.
Yeah,
why would you only think of yourself?
No, I don't know, but
I'm being selfish because I'm talking about this just because I've read it, and I think I got it from wherever I was reading it last, was like Variety. But just being selfish because I love TV and movies, and I don't want them to stop making stuff.
And the thing is, they won't. It's just like anything else, and I hate saying it like this, but unfortunately, everybody's replaceable in positions and stuff like that. For every great actor you see, every great musician you see, every great athlete you see, you can go to a local YMCA or a local dive and find somebody who does just as well. They just weren't in the right place at the right time, or didn't get discovered, something like that. I mean, it's the sad truth of things. Is there's a lot of people out there that can act. There's a lot of people out there that can sing, can play sports. It's just not everybody gets the opportunity to. So we'll see. We'll see if they go on strike and they start losing money, how it affects the industry. And I'll see if there's a turnover, or see if there's somebody buckles. They're going to buckle. They're going to get what they want.
They're going to throw that.
If it's fair work conditions they're not receiving, they should get fair work conditions. I will say that. So definitely fight for that.
I wholeheartedly agree.
But all right, well, that's all we got. Ross rounded up the news, talked about some shows, some movies, had a guest on, talked about an awesome comic. it's been a good Friday. It's definitely been a pick-me-up since for the shitty ass day that I've had. So it's what I needed. I think it might be the first time I smiled today. So it's really fun stuff. But all right, well, let's go ahead and get out of here. Matt, you're the guest man. Tell them where they can find you at, where they can find your work, and anything else you want to put out there.
Yes. So again, the Kickstarter is tbvkickstarter.com. We're funded, but we're trying to hit a stretch goal to get a hardcover. It'll be the first hardcover of something I've written that I'll own. So please help us out with that. And then you can find me anywhere on the internet, MySpace, Friendster, Twitter, Instagram, Match.com. My handle is @MattmanBegins, like Batman Begins, but with my name Matt.
That's awesome.
So everywhere on the socials, that's where I'm at. So please come follow me. I'm kind of fun. Yeah.
Did you say MySpace and Friendster?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Oh, wow.
My man led off with
Wow.
MySpace. And
That's awesome. You did it chronologically the correct way. I like that. And you left Facebook out, which is awesome because fuck Facebook. But
Yeah, fuck Facebook indeed.
Yeah. Sarah, where can they find you at?
You can find me on the Twitter at My Little Kitten. I'm kind of in my football state of mind now because, 3-0. Yeah.
Because we're undefeated. That's right.
But otherwise, that's about it. I mean, you might be able to, sometimes you can find me on Instagram, but I mean, it's going to be about the same stuff. So, but other than that, that's about it. And yes, I am on the Facebook too, but that's okay.
And the TikTokies.
Oh God, don't even talk to me about TikTok. Oh my gosh, I can't. Oh yes. Too much time.
I tried to give TikTok a chance. Usually the only thing I do with TikTok now is when somebody sends me something funny, I'll look at it and watch it. But other than that, man, it's like I walk around my house, both my daughters and my wife are on it, and they're just mesmerized by it. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't be that guy.
Real life Marvel Zombies, baby.
Yeah. So. Where can they find you at, Ross?
Big, dead, celestial floating head in space known as nowhere.
Yep.
Except right here.
That's right. Right here. Ross said goodbye to the social medias a long time ago. I think I did too, but I had to get on Twitter to get the show going, and I just kind of never left. Well, I did leave Twitter. I rarely get on Twitter anymore because Twitter's just a cesspool of mean people that say mean things for no reason. And it's just like, why would you say that to my face if you were right here? Seriously?
But the cool thing about it is whenever you do make a tweet or whatever, and like one of your favorite players likes it, it makes it all worthwhile.
That's true. That's true.
All worthwhile.
Are you getting popular with the you running through that Panthers field?
There's a reason she has a Zilstra jersey. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's not because he's a good player. You be quiet.
Hey, he has a third of Darnold's touchdowns for the whole season.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
he's got one, don't he?
That's what I'm saying. It's a third of his total touchdowns.
He's got one.
There, so. All right. And you can find me at the Bat Daddy 52 on Twitter. That is my only form of social media. I don't check it as often as I should, but I do check it. So check it out. And at SCS Podcast 1 is the Twitter show for this Twitter handle for the show. Hit me up if you got any questions, you want to be a guest on the show, anything like that, and we can work something out. Matt, I'm going to put the link to your stuff, to your Kickstarter, and I'm going to put some panels from your comic, not all of them, but just a couple cool panels out there so people can get an idea of the artwork. And if you're interested, hit him up, check it out, throw some money his way. Let's get some hardcovers out there because hardcovers are cool. I like hardcovers. But thank y'all so much once again. It's always fun. And until next week, keep pounding.
Later.